How do I make videos? I start with ideas which come to me, usually at the most unlikely or compromising of times. I quickly make a text file on my desktop, which is usually named after what I think the video should be about, and may have a link or two inside to remind me of where I got the idea from in the first place. These can sit on my desktop for weeks until I have some spare time, at which point I pick the video idea that I most want to do and file the others away into a storage folder somewhere, just in case I need them in the future. I haven't had to yet, since by the time I finish this one, I'll have another 10 to choose from sitting on my desktop. Next, once I've decided on a video idea that's worth making, I upgrade it to folder status so that I have a single place to store everything important to the project. I'll then write a script. It can take hours as I mess about with ideas and jokes. As I go, I continually rearrange and redo previous bits until the whole thing makes for a coherent video. It sounds like a nightmare having to type up literally thousands of words for every video, but I love this stage and it flies by in an instant. Before I know it, I have a finished script in front of me. In fact, I think I go into some sort of trance since I never remember doing this bit of a video. This is the first time I've really stopped and thought about what I do. Next is the audio stage. Reading out my videos takes almost exactly 5 minutes per page, regardless of its content. It's an odd phenomenon of mine, and it's become a bit of a habit to check that it holds true at the end of every page. I had one day where I could read everything off first time and made no mistakes and could do a page every 3 minutes, but it hasn't happened to me since and I don't know what really caused it. The quality of my audio has become increasingly important to me, to the point where I have to be in exactly the right position relative to the microphone to be happy with the result. There's also this weird thing where if I eat before doing this stage, my voice sounds a little bit more sticky, and you'll occasionally notice bits in my videos where the sound of my voice subtly changes at the end of a sentence, where I've had to re-record a bit at a later date. This is inevitable because there are bits I can't predict until later on in the project. For example, right now I'm wondering where I'll be getting the footage for this bit of the video, and will probably have to find an example of what I'm talking about to demonstrate what I'm talking about. Reading the script out normally takes between 10 and 20 minutes, depending on the length of the video. I then edit it all together in Vegas, because I make a lot of mistakes when reading. I have the utmost respect for people like Thorin who can do it perfectly in one take. I'm not like him, and make several big mistakes per paragraph. Some bits can take me up to a dozen attempts to get right. When recording the audio, I think, great, that's going to take me ages to edit, but in practice, it never does. I actually like editing out the minutes of silence where I've gone to the toilet, or finding similar sound waves where I've obviously redone the same bit several times and removing them. This part takes me about 2 minutes for every minute of audio I record. In other words, if I didn't bother with adding video clips to my videos, I could go from script to finished video in under an hour. Which brings me on to the video footage stage, which takes the longest and I think adds the least to the project. But it's important to do. I'd like to think that people would watch my videos even if it was just a black screen. I know there are plenty of other YouTubers who do perfectly well for themselves without having to without bothering to find relevant footage to accompany what there are plenty of themselves without bothering. I know there are plenty of other YouTubers, but I see it as a missed opportunity. Stage screen. I know there are plenty of other YouTubers who I know there are plenty of other YouTubers out there who do perfectly well for themselves without bothering to find relevant footage to accompany what they're saying. But I see it as a missed opportunity and know that my audience retention and my reputation is at stake. NVIDIA's Shadowplay has made this part of the video making stage so much easier than my old mix of Fraps, Hypercam, and video ripping programs that I used to have to use. If I'm lucky, I'll already have useful footage recorded, but at best it will take up about 25% of the project's length, and it's never as relevant to the project as it seems when I first capture it. The majority I have to do as I go along at this stage, and it can take upwards of 15 hours to do. I procrastinate and get very easily sidetracked during this stage. If I put my mind to it, I could probably halve the length of time, but for some reason I never bother. I make sure that everything that's needed for a video is stored in a single folder, otherwise I might accidentally delete important stuff when doing general computer housekeeping, like clearing my Shadowplay folders or whatever. This single project folder contains the script and the narration files, and several folders full of video footage. I make a new one every time it gets too messy to work with the previous one. There's no particular theme to these subfolders, and I name most of the files after whatever's running through my head at the time. That bot video I uploaded to kliksphilip recently had a folder that looks like this. The end result was under 8 minutes long and in HD, and yet all of the footage for it came to 22 gigabytes. As the project matures, the subject matter's priority always changes. What I may consider a key part of the video at the beginning may become something else, or even disappear entirely before the end. I never know how a video is going to turn out until it's made, and I suspect this is one of the reasons that they always take me longer than I expect. I very rarely give up on a video, and what I may consider to be a weak video of mine may suddenly become one of the strongest hours before it's completed, as I suddenly come up with a new idea that turns out better than I could have hoped for. It's then a case of rendering and uploading the video. I'm always in a rush to do this, which is stupid because it's not a sprint. In reality, it involves watching the video multiple times and changing it as I go along based on bugs I find and things that come across in a different style from the one I was aiming for. This itself can take just as long as piecing the footage together in the first place, but at least my computer does the majority of the work when rendering and uploading, and I can just sit browsing the internet feeling like I'm still being productive. I then have to make the thumbnail, video's title, description and tags, as well as remembering to upload the script and to later publish it once it's finished processing. This part is probably the most dull for me since I'm wanting to start on something else by this point. And that's how I make a video. They are mostly audio-led, where the video is just there to demonstrate what I'm talking about. There are pros and cons to this. It usually means that the video is straight to the point and can have a decent storyline where the end refers back to the beginning and all that, but I think that my videos can sometimes be inflexible and feel a little forced. I talked about kliksphilip's change of direction and how I wanted to make bigger and more popular videos that borrow elements from larger YouTubers. I'm still experimenting and trying to get these videos just right, but they involve changing my approach to one where I make the videos as I go along. Sort of like, I want to do this for the next 30 seconds of the video. Then I go out, get that footage and put commentary that goes well with it. The idea of doing this scares me since these segments operate independently. It'll almost become like a sketch show rather than a video with a proper storyline, where all bits go nicely with each other. To get the best of both worlds is a real chicken and the egg situation where I have to continually go over and change what I've already done in response to things that come up later in production. It will take longer to do and the end result will be far less predictable. I fear I'll spend hundreds of hours on something that will end up being a failure. I deal with kliksphilip videos such as this one in a slightly different way. They always start off being short and quick things that I can make when I have a moment spare, and yet this video has somehow ballooned to 3 pages long. I take a lot of shortcuts with this channel's content. I can't justify the amount of time it would take to make these videos to the standard of my other channels. I often overlook small mistakes and borrow footage from earlier projects instead of going to the bother of creating fresh content for this video. As much as I love making stuff for kliksphilip, the smaller audience means that it doesn't help me to sustain what I do, and the time would be better spent working on a 3 or even 2 kliksphilip video instead. But if nothing else, it gives me a sort of break from the stressful nature of my main channels. With hindsight, I wish I had recorded all of my script writing stage for this video, so that I could have made a time lapse of it to show you whilst I was talking about it. But I have to make do with what I've got. I've got to learn from this experience and apply it to my next. With every project, I make mistakes and waste hours of effort, and something tells me that this will always be the case, and that I'll never truly master the art of making a video.